Hello there and welcome to another episode of the most watched business show in the country. This is the Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV and I am your host, Michael Obodu. In the next 60 minutes, I'll be bringing you highlights of all the top business stories for the week, including the newest sanctions introduced by the National Communications Authority against persons who are yet to re-register their SIM cards with the Ghana card, some new directives from the Bank of Ghana to regulate the space, and yes, the Citi Business Olympics. All you need to know about that competition. Well, if you're ready, let's go. Did you have a hard time making calls this week? Did you have a similar experience with your data as well? Then you are most likely part of those who are yet to register their SIM cards with the Ghana card. What you were experiencing was part of new sanctions introduced by the National Communications Authority to compel people to take part in the exercise. Until you re-register your SIM card, you will continue to have such experiences till the end of the month when your SIM will finally be blocked. As at midday on the 5th of September, Citi Business News confirmed that for one of the telcos in the country, it had blocked almost 500,000 of subscribers who were yet to register their SIMs with the Ghana card. The directive, which was announced by the National Communication Authority, took effect on the day and is meant to compel SIM users to undergo the process or risk losing their numbers by the end of the month. Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, has been explaining how the telcos are implementing the new instructions from the NCA.
So what is going to happen is that all the MNOs are supposed to divide the numbers that they have into 5 cohorts. And then they will block a fifth today for 2 days. By the way the system is run, they will block for 2 days. They will take another time to unblock those people and then block again. So I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure that all of them will be doing about a fifth of what they have by today.
He further called for efforts to be made to address challenges with the acquisition of the Ghana card to enable more people undergo the re-registration process.
I would just want to say to people that barring, and preventing people from making calls is not something that is pleasant to us as telcos. And I'm pretty sure it's not pleasant to the NCA and the policymaker. But it is important that all of us do this, the register our SIM cards with the Ghana card. But it's also very important to note that there are some people that through no fault of theirs would not be able to do this. And so the policymakers, the regulators working together with us should try as much as possible to make sure that amputees, those who have registered offline that have not been resolved, those whose data reconciliation issues are outstanding, those who have registered for the Ghana card, but they've been told that they should come at a later date. All of this, the system should all work together to ensure that they can get their Ghana card so that they can do the registration.
Meanwhile, some Ghanaians have expressed concern about the new directive from the National Communications Authority.
I think the government needs to step in and do something about it, because we still have people in the rural areas who don't have their Ghana cards ready. Yes, and I can attest to that. I have my great-grandmother in the village who doesn't have a Ghana card. And she's been expecting me to be sending her money. That's why I'm sending money to her. But she doesn't have a Ghana card and she hasn't registered a SIM card. So if you just deactivate her number like that, I don't take it. So the government has to step in. If possible, the NIA need to go to the rural areas and step in with that.
Oh, so someone can do and you're fine, mommy. Fine, mom, say me Ghana card in my year. By mistake, we buy me registration now. Me register or me seminar so. Dinu one change here. But I'm a queer no more. Your mom no more so much to me. Your own share. I'm a queer no seminar. I'm a queer register. Me say I could buy car almost by 1 million. I've David a car. Until no more side. I mean, yet. Me, if you say. Me started use the same way. Me used to 2004. Let's see, I would just seconds. Move between man.
I don't think it's very possible. And as a very possible, so a better dream because if you are ubusu ani be yare and now be per se unya access to you. Na say ufon call for and the young Juma equa ebia obi atwade o pese o san ni usika and as be bisa about per se offer no nyaw ansa na wasani sika na mawa na so be fro ni phone aduma eno so ni na be hadwen nti I think say was say abano ohwe na oyi bibi kakra fa ho.
As expected, there has been an increase in the number of subscribers using the self-service app to register their SIM cards. People were compelled to use that option after the National Communications Authority began implementing the sanctions on persons who were yet to re-register their SIM cards.
After the National Communications Authority announced the rerouting of outgoing calls, the blocking of calls and data of unregistered numbers last Sunday, the authority has revealed that the registration on the self-service app has so far had about 10,000 subscribers.
What we have now is the fact that we could have actually had a lot more than 10,000 registrations on the app. For starters, not everyone has a smartphone, so not everyone can actually use the app to register. As a matter of fact, a number of our people out there do not have smartphones. They have just what we call the YAM phones or feature phones. These are phones that do not do internet, so they can't use the app. So I don't want to attribute it to the fact that the app is there. Even though the app, since we launched, we've done about 10,000 or so registrations on the app. We had about 50,000 or so downloads of the app and about 10,000 registrations on the app. So that's quite encouraging. But I don't think that the app is the reason why people are not showing up at the various telcos. Against the habit that we have. I mean, from the numbers I gave you, each time there's an extension, everyone just lays back until they realize that it's a week to go. That's why we keep saying that, look, go have your SIMs registered, especially those who have done stage 1 and not stage 2. So interestingly, as of 25th of August, we had about 64% or so having done stage 1, but only about 42 having done stage 2. These are folks who Ghana cards already. So why haven't they used the app to finish their registration? Why have they not seen any of the agents of the MNOs, or have they not walked to any of the telcos customer care centers to complete?
Indeed, when Citi News visited some registration centers like the Elwak Sports Stadium, which used to be a busy spot for the SIM re-registration process, there was little or less activity. Some of the registrants attributed the delay in re-registering their SIM cards to their inability to get their Ghana cards.
Okay, for the SIM registration, I think I spent less than 5 minutes. Yes. And
wow. So and I mean, the NCA has been announcing this for months. Get your SIM re-registered. Why have you waited so long to get it done to today?
Okay, so like I said, my card wasn't ready because there was no card, so I was given a date to come and check. So as I came in today, it was ready. So once I get my card, I thought it's wise to register the SIM card immediately, because as per NCA directive, I think if you haven't registered your SIM, you might even have some technical challenge when you're making phone calls. So I thought they need to register the SIM card as soon as possible. That's what
I came here to continue with my Ghana card. I was in the process. I couldn't finish, so I came to continue. And God being so good, I've received it. So I'm here again to register my SIM card.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, why did it take you so long to get your SIM card registration done?
Well, I came here, that was 3 months ago, to take my Ghana card, but it wasn't, I didn't complete the process. So they asked me to come here again today.
Okay, so that is the reason why you were not able to re-register your SIM was because the Ghana card delay.
The Ghana card delay.
Okay, I think a lot of people have this problem. The Ghana card issuers, that's why they are not being able to re-register. Do you think that's the actual problem, or Ghanaians generally don't want to re-register?
No, not Ghanaians. That's the problem. They are having problem with their machines and whatever. Yeah.
So you think that if that is solved, everybody can be able to re-register?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The NCA, while hammering on the need for the public to re-register, said it is poised on taking further punitive actions if individuals fail to heed to the calls.
there are people who were in the queue when the Mensa announced that, okay, you have 2 more months to register. They left the queues and went home. They've not returned back to register. So these are some of the things that we are seeing in the market, but I believe that yes, part of the consumer behavior that we are seeing. So hopefully people would realize that we mean business, because now if you are blocking people for not registering, when we tell you that we are going to take you off the network from 1st October, you should know that can happen, and indeed it will happen.
Also, the authority clarified allegations by subscribers that they are being charged twice the stipulated amounts for using the app.
As I speak to you now, as far as we are concerned, and indeed we have a call center where people actually call in and say, look, guys, I've been charged twice instead of once. Some say 3 times, some say 4 times. So at the back end, we do the investigation, and whenever we find that somebody has been charged twice for the same service, refunds are made to those people. But this was going on. So someone is registering, he encounters a bit of a challenge, maybe network challenges or whatever it says, then they restart the registration. Now, as far as the system is concerned, you have a pending payment that hasn't been used yet. So when you have the chance to check your status of your payment, ideally check and see whether the payment has been used up or not. But people would then tend to reset. So what the team has done going forward is that there's only one option that you have, not to reset, but to check on your payment. So once you check on the payment, you realize that no, payment is still pending, then use that to register. So hopefully all of this would be a thing of the past. But as I said before, only about 40 or so people have the issues of irregularity with their payments, and a number of them have been paid. The rest, of course, also be paid in the course of this week.
Okay. We turn our attention now to the banking sector, and the Bank of Ghana has been issuing some directives to players in the space. It has given strong warnings to banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions and payment service providers to ensure fairness and transparency in the delivery of information to prevent any form of miscommunication on fraud. This new directive is contained in the disclosure and transparency guidelines for digital financial services and products provided by these parties.
The proliferation of mobile devices and access to technology has created a viable environment for the development and creation of services based on these devices and technological platforms. These new directives from the Bank of Ghana aim at providing the minimum disclosure and transparency framework to guide providers of digital financial services and products. This is being done to protect consumers who use these digital financial services by ensuring that institutions that provide these services do so in a transparent and fair manner by disclosing to the customers and prospective customers all the information that is necessary to enable the consumer to make informed decisions about the product. According to the disclosure and transparency directives for digital financial services and products provided by banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions, and non-bank financial institutions 2022, digital service providers must ensure that all materials provided to consumers are clear, complete, accurate, understandable, and not misleading regardless of the delivery channels. Also, providers must not represent the nature of digital financial services or products and must disclose the associated risks relating to digital financial services as prominently as the benefits. In terms of receipts of automated advertisements, consumers must be presented with the option to accept or decline the receipt of automated advertisements and promotional information. Subject to the express consent of the consumer, a provider may send automated advertisements and promotional information through short messaging services, electronic mails, automated calls, or any other means to a consumer. Promotional materials shall not generally use terminologies such as free, zero cost, or similar words or phrases if there exists associated cost to the product or service. Furthermore, banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions must ensure that delivery channels for digital financial services do not expose consumers to undue risk of scams and fraud. Meanwhile, the central bank says it may impose on banks or specialized deposit-taking institutions an administrative sanction of not more than 10,000 penalty units for the breach of the new guidelines. The central bank insists that in the case of continuous breach, an additional penalty of not more than 50 penalty units shall be imposed for each day the breach continues.
If you don't want to negatively impact your credit report, and the chance of securing a credit facility with any financial institution, then you must desist from issuing dud checks. This caution is from the Bank of Ghana to customers of the various banks in the country.
The warning by the Bank of Ghana is part of the bank's financial literacy program. It is also part of efforts to help customers improve their worthiness to receive new credits from any financial institution. The central bank urged customers to pay their loan on time to maintain a good credit history. It noted that this is because one's credit history shows how they managed the repayment of their past loans, including the timeliness of the payment, adding that a weak credit history may affect one's chances of getting new loans from any financial institution. The central bank also noted that bank customers are entitled to a free credit report once a year. The credit report will contain one's credit history, which outlines their current and past loans, the institutions they took the loans from, and how they are paying or repaid the loans. Customers are being urged to contact the credit bureaus to see their credit status. They are urged to not wait until they need a loan before contacting the credit bureaus to see their credit status. It also noted that retailers, telcos, fintech service providers, student loan trusts, utility companies, and other credit providers may share information of one's indebtedness to them to credit bureaus licensed by the Bank of Ghana. These institutions will also obtain credit information about borrowers when deciding to offer them credit. This will, however, be done with their consent. It also noted that one's consent is required before any authorized institution obtains access to their credit report or share their credit information. The central bank, however, urged borrowers to submit a complaint to the credit bureau or their financial institution if they dispute the content of their credit report.
Did you hear that the Attorney General plans on looking at the Men's Gold saga involving the embattled CEO of the company Namwan again? For the customers of Men's Gold, of what use is having Namwan in jail to them if they still do not have their monies back and are impoverished due to this? They would rather the AG prioritizes paying them their locked up funds than pushing for the prosecution of the CEO of the company.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfrey Dame has revealed that his office will soon begin the prosecution of all persons involved in the Men's Gold financial fraud. However, the customers were quick to point out that all they are interested in is their monies paid them and not a lawsuit against the Men's Gold CEO, Nanapia Mensa, who is also known as Namwan. Fred Forson speaks for the aggrieved customers of Men's Gold.
Customers have been delayed, our time has been wasted, and above all, 183 people have been killed without any reason or any cause. As we speak, with this confession and with the discussion that we had and the information at their disposal, it means the delay in government action in respect of paying the customers was done for nothing. So we are saying that where we are now, what government should do is that the 2019 petition that we sent to the Attorney General and the recent motion having been filed in Parliament by the Honourable Member for South Dai on which relates to how government or the state can proceed to pay Men's Gold customers, we suggest that Attorney General should work closely with Parliament. And this time they should rush and ensure that this motion is passed so that government will be guided by Parliament to proceed on how they can pay the customers.
The customers also lament that several years after the Economic and Organised Crime Office EOCO froze assets of the Men's Gold CEO, which were later sold, they are yet to be paid their lost funds. They are therefore planning on a march to the Jubilee House on September 12 to petition President Akufo-Addo over the matter.
Yeah, so on the 12th of September, which is Monday, coming Monday, we shall petition the President asking for a presidential intervention in the Men's Gold matter. If you remember, it's 4 years, just September Monday is 4 years since Men's Gold was shut down. And victims have done everything under the sun, but we are not able to receive our money. So this time we want to petition the President for a presidential intervention so that we shall secure our money. And we are converging at customs, the traffic lights around customs, all of us are converging there. Then we shall do a walk through the ministries to the Independence Square. At Independence Square, and this time we want the personal intervention of the president in this matter. Yeah, we believe that the president is the father of the nation and the last resort. He has enormous powers. He has that aspect of him that he shows compassion to people and looking at the situation, the human factor, the welfare of the people. You know, so about 35% of the other population are involved in Mensa. We believe that it's high time that we appeal to the compassionate aspect of the President of the Republic of Ghana to intervene in converting a customs at community area under the traffic light area. This agreement has been made. We've met with the police. City House has been notified, so they are all aware we are coming. They've given us the green light. They've given us the assurance. So we want everybody to be present on that day. These 2 hours will be done with when they go back to their work.
Earlier in the week, the managing director of the IMF, in a meeting with President Akufo-Addo, assured that a deal between Ghana and the IMF should be reached and finalized before the end of the year. But financial economist Professor Lord Mensa is skeptical about the government's chances of tying down a bailout program with the International Monetary Fund in the last quarter of this year. Here's why.
The managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, in a meeting with President Akufo-Addo on September 5, 2022, reiterated her outfit's commitment to reaching an agreement with the government by the end of this year for an economic program. Describing Ghana as a superb country, she reiterated the determination of the fund to work with government and the Ministry of Finance to ensure that an agreement is in place by December this year. Financial economist Professor Lord Mensa, reacting to this development, doubts Ghana's readiness for the bailout program. He spoke to Citi Business News.
If you look at the economy over this year, I think we are almost through the last quarter of the year. And so, if we get a program with IMF, and it should happen now, the fiscal impact will not be, effective as expected. And I believe that IMF wants to take us into the new year, where some of the policies or some of the programs they would like to roll with us will reflect in the budget that will be read in November. And so the year is almost ending, and I don't think any macroeconomic entity like IMF would like to pick us in the last quarter of the year. Probably this time to the end of the year, they may be using it to draft, the possible policies. And this also shows how the situation of the country, whether we're ready for IMF or not. And I think all these things signals that we're not ready, even though at the point in time we called in the IMF. And that is why we've been going up and down with them. I believe, they want to match up some of their policy to go with our fiscal year, which is coming in November. The budget that will be ready to take off from January to next year, December.
Ghana is before the International Monetary Fund for $3 billion to help the country navigate through the hostile economic crisis it finds itself as a result of the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic and the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. According to Nana Akufo-Addo, as of now, a lot of work has been done by Cabinet and the Ministry of Finance, and the document to be presented by the government is ready for the scrutiny of the IMF. Officials from the fund are expected back in the country in the last week of September to open formal negotiations.
I'm sure you heard about the $750 million loan advance to Ghana by the African Export-Import Bank. The Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says it will ensure value for money in its usage. The chamber believes ensuring the judicious use of the loan, the expected facilities from the International Monetary Fund, and the cocoa syndicated loans is the only way to help the cedi appreciate against the dollar and other major currencies.
Small and medium enterprises continue to feel the heat of the depreciation of the cedi against major trading currencies. This, they say, is affecting their businesses as some have begun folding up. At a workshop for SMEs by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Koforidua, participants lamented how dire the situation has become. The CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Mark Bedu Abwaji, spoke to the media on the challenges of his members.
targeted approach between the chamber, the business community, and government. So we've been making input into the policies of government. Every year before the budget is read, we make input into the budget, and we ensure that whatever policies that they are bringing in is in the interest of businesses. After the budget is also read, we do analysis to see the risk therein and how we can mitigate it regarding businesses. So we have to, as businesses and as government, have to work together to solve this problem. Government cannot solve this problem alone. Government needs the support of businesses. Who is producing? Who is exporting? It's the private sector that is producing, the private sector that is exporting. The foreign revenue we are talking about, we come in because the private sector will export. So whatever we have to do as a country to empower businesses, we have to do that. So we will have to monitor the activities of government and also offer suggestions that will help us out of this problem that we are facing.
But to what extent can this affect Ghana's involvement in NAFTA? Emmanuel Boni is the Regional Director, Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Our participation in other trade agreements, ECOWAS, the EU, and currently the AFCFTA, our participation in such program, we've not been able to reap the needed and enhanced benefit from this program. So, and it's because we've not been able to give affordable financing to our industrial sector. So if you look at what is happening as far as the AFCFTA is concerned, there's going to be stiff competition from other African countries. Products are going to come from Egypt, they are going to come from Morocco, they are going to come into Ghana. Ghana also has the ability, or also has the right to take such product. But if they are receiving financial at lower cost, what it means that they bring their product into our country at a competitive price and ours become uncompetitive. So a program of this nature which seeks to ensure that we give our industries affordable financing.
According to the president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Clement Osayamwako, the $750 million loan advanced to Ghana by the Afrexim Bank should be used judiciously to help the cedi appreciate against the dollar and other major currencies. The government of Ghana recently received a $750 million loan from the Exim Bank to cushion the current state of the economy, and the country is expecting other facilities from the International Monetary Fund and COCO syndicated loans that will help the cedi against major trading currencies. Mr. Osayamwako, who spoke to journalists at the sidelines of a capacity building workshop for SMEs in Koforidua and Eastern region, said the chamber will monitor every detail of the loan.
We have seen that Exim Bank has advanced a loan of $750 million to Ghana, and that is a good beginning. We know IMF will come with something. We are also expecting COCO syndicated loan to come in. All these loans will come and cushion us with the dollar issue because they are coming in foreign currency, which will support our import. Let us see how those monies will be well utilized. As a chamber, we have opened our eyes and monitoring government's activities that will jeopardize the usage of these funds, and we'll hit it at the right time when we see that it's not going on well, because the private sector needs to move on well. And as long as we have those impediments on our way, we might not be able to see ourselves through. And so I'll urge all Ghanaians that the country is ours. Let us do our own bit, what we can do to support our nation, than creating unnecessary panic into the system, which will jeopardize our livelihood.
He, however, called on Ghanaians to stop hoarding the dollars and rather invest with it to help the cedi to appreciate.
The sad part of it is that currently, because the cedi is depreciating, others have run to the market going to hold foreign currencies that they don't need it. But they have forgotten that as much as we do that, we create shortage of the foreign currency in the system. There are key variables that as economy we need to look at it. The government needs foreign currency to import fuel and other products that we actually need. Like, let's look at the hospital. We need medicine and other things that are very important to our survivorship. And so when we create artificial shortage by carrying the dollars into our pockets in our homes, then we cripple the market. And so what we are saying is that if you have excess money that you want to do business with, and you think that you don't want to do any business with it, buy land and other assets that grow. we hold the dollar and other foreign currency for import. If you are not importing, there is no business in Ghana here that when you are going to buy any product or services, you go and buy with dollar. Let us not create problem for our country. Let us run away from that and leave those who are importing to go in for the dollar and import. And the fact is that when we're able to do that and the dollar comes down, we get any goods that we are consuming from outside cheaper than what we are getting.
The representative from the Development Bank Ghana, Mame Ahima Wilson, said the bank is ready to support businesses with long-term loans which will help them succeed.
To ensure the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement, there's a need for deepened regional cooperation between tax authorities. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Amishadai Owusu-Amwa, believes this will be important in preventing tax evasion and avoidance schemes while aiding in detecting various financial and customs-related crimes. He spoke at the opening ceremony of the 7th Annual Congress of the African Tax Administration Forum in Accra.
The 7th Annual African Tax Research Network Conference focused on the tax and revenue implications of the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement. The World Bank estimates that AfCFTA would significantly boost African trade, particularly intra-regional trade in manufacturing. By 2035, the volume of total exports would increase by almost 29%. Intracontinental exports would increase by more than 81%, while exports to non-African countries would rise by 19%. This would create new opportunities for African countries and its workforce. It is expected that the aggregate tariff revenues for Africa will decrease with the implementation of the AfCFTA, with some countries to be more affected than others. This decline in revenue will be moderate in the early years due to progressive liberalization. However, in the long term between 2025 and 2045, the decline will increase from 3 to 9%, according to a projection from the World Bank. Speaking at the conference, Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Amishadai Owusu-Amwa, underscored the need for deepened regional cooperation between tax authorities as part of efforts to ensure the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
Developments have prepared our customs officials for a much larger undertaking, that is the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Some competent authorities have made tremendous progress, particularly in the use of technology and towards integration. And we can tap into their experiences to work towards our own goals as a continent. For a start, we can now establish South-South cooperation and also build capacity to facilitate not only a shared understanding about the needs and the processes required, but also to create a platform for cooperation between authorities as well as law enforcement agencies for the detection of tax and other financial crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, the need for regional cooperation between tax authorities is now more important than ever. Tax and customs authorities play a key role in the collection of information, including beneficiary ownership information and then financial information, as well as the use of tax identifiers that will link individuals to the companies which they have shareholding.
Delivering the keynote on behalf of the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, a Deputy Minister of Finance, Abena Osei-Asare, stated that it is critical for member states under the AfCFTA to resort to innovative revenue-enhancing measures to boost customs revenue mobilization.
And so there is a need to capture the informal sector so that you will be able to give the right assessment of taxes for them. And also we should also look at introducing some innovative tax measures that we believe will go a long way to help like the EVAT system that government is going to come out with. And then we also looked at the electronic transfer, the e-levy, which we believe is also going to tax that component of mobile money, and then other transfer taxes, other transfer incomes in that region. We will have to do something innovatively to make up for the marginal shortfall in the short term. But in the long term, we all mentioned that it is going to help us to improve incomes. And it's the World Bank estimates that there's going to be a 7% improvement in income, and that alone will result in about $450 billion US. So, I mean, every African country will try to come up with measures and strategies that will help it tap into that 450 million.
The Executive Secretary of the African Tax Administration Forum, Logan Ward, emphasized the need for African governments to tighten tax on international trade and increase investments in digital tax collection systems.
70% of your economy comes from the informal sector. So unless you find, as the Deputy Minister had said, innovative ways to bring them into the tax net, you are going to reduce your income because of the fact that you can no longer charge certain tariffs. 90% of chargeable tariffs will fall away under the agreement. And so within that informal sector, you will find not only small businesses, you also find medium and bigger businesses that hides within an informal sector. You've got to introduce and tighten up your taxes on international trade. You've got to tighten up your taxes on the digital economy. The digital economy here in Ghana has exponentially increased over the last decade by $2 to $3 billion US annually. What is the domestic tax take from that? And so you need to invest in the digitalization of your tax administration. You've got to invest in advanced policies for taxing the multinational enterprises, and you've got to bring more of your middle classes into the tax net.
Now, the Sugarcane Growers Association in the Western and Central regions who supply raw materials to the revamped Commander Sugar Factory say they are considering price adjustments per ton of sugarcane. What could be their reason for this decision? Let's find out.
President Akufo-Addo, during his two-day tour of the Central region, promised to commission the Commander Sugar Factory before the end of the year. The factory became the subject of discussion after works of revamping it and getting strategic investors are delayed. The president, while addressing the chiefs and people of Commander, gave the assurance that the factory will be commissioned before the end of the year. But the Sugarcane Outgrowers Association of the Western and Central regions, who supply raw materials to the factory, say they are considering price adjustments per ton of sugarcane. According to them, although they have pegged a ton of sugarcane at 105 cedis, they are hoping that the prices will be adjusted. The group say they accepted the new prices from management of the factory in order to make the factory operational, although the price is below the market price. Here is the public relations officer for the association, Okatechie Nana Kweku Akom, speaking to Citi News.
We went to the management and the board. There's a confusion, and we, the members, we don't want to interact or fight with any of board member or any person. So we decided to not sell our sugarcane to the Commander Sugar Factory. But recently, our president is coming to visit the factory. We just allow the management to go and cultivate the sugarcane. Yeah. So now we are ready to sell our sugarcane to the factory if our demand is to done. Our demand is any order from the management. If they order to go to the farm and cut the sugarcane, they have to bring it to the factory. If not, they have to pay. It's one. Again, they have to adjust the scale. Yes, the scale. They have to adjust it because way back 2016, if your sugarcane weigh 10 tons, now it's 8 or 9. So now it's not helping us. So they have to done a certain thing to it. We need more money. We need money to expand our sugarcane farm. Yes, if they bring us money, I think we can cultivate a lot of sugarcane land.
In Elmina, fisher folks say the sighting of the fishing harbour in the enclave will boost economic activity in the area. Some fisher folks spoke to Citi News about the excitement of welcoming the harbour.
Fishing harbour ndi Nibia knew about Canada papa. I will be a Bacana papa, no chada soon be one. Papa say you will club you one of any diachin in the peshi. Go far, then I will see. Chada, a dumb baby cremaha, I want to nice water. I want at you Brazil, I want at you Kelole. Nina, be a business sandwich, maybe or be a bocodo. A man enough for now also. Elsie Edma Kodo at Yenchembala Uncle Tian. Oh, Manabeka say, this year no, Tamabud Funazano, what's in Cobia, Oberhan is your own baby book, when you say Cobudson, and let me say her when you're there, Baba. Nay, I have so I am a can, a shrub crew. It's a wab enemy. He say I'm a phone per year, be Bimson Sanwa. Where shall we no more? Or so now one of our Bishop Bimson Sanwa, what ye are member, where shall Miss Sissy, the corner of Wajilaba, and so I find them. Blaya blow. Yen became no ya greasy. Was it too a coupon share a more nutrition more eggs fa. If you mind your namakakra, Yamiadumu me liba. A baba and a chibu butu or camonano. No namia if you answer. Yen share Yamay do coupon, few pay do coupon, poyen share no book. Never corne binya never baswa, Babo too goody. Oh, yo. Oh, yes, as a film papa. Within the
enclave, a lot of things happened aimed at improving the livelihoods. One of such is the construction of the Elmina London Beach. Bell Sea Limited, the construction company working on the Elmina London Beach and Harbour, shared with Citi News the initial challenges they encountered in the construction of the harbour and says the project will be completed in January next year.
Of course, the challenge is it's a small town. Everything is already packed. Also, that's why we needed to make this expansion. So logistically, it was a very big challenge for us. We work with big machinery. We had to bring in more than 300,000 tons of rocks through all the access roads. So the logistics was a very big challenge for us. We created especially an alternative access road for that to keep the safety of the people in town on a high level, to ensure we could minimize as much as possible the machine and man interaction. Apart from that, of course, is the flow of materials to the area. Sometimes when there is big rainfall, the rock quarries, they are flooded, so it was difficult to take enough material at the time. We're at 90.05%. What we have been doing now is actually the biggest chunk of the works, which is the marine works. And the marine works, they consist largely out of rock works, so making two big new breakwaters. Then something, of course, you cannot see with a blind eye is the dredging works. It's everything under the water. Then the third part is where we stand up now is the dredging work. So we have been creating new land. We have been expanding Ghana with a few slight percentages. And then we also have been completing the quay walls. So during the month of January, our last task is, of course, look at the small remaining defects, patch everything up, make sure everything is nice and new. And then the 31st of January, we want to hand over to the government, and we're well on schedule for that.
A climate-smart cropping system is contributing tremendously to the incomes of over 3,000 cocoa farmers in some cocoa-growing areas of the country. The initiative is aimed at getting farmers to diversify crops on the same piece of land for cocoa production and at the same time mitigate climate change and help them avoid practices like burning.
Lucy Chuniwa has been working on this cocoa farm for over a decade. She's one of the cocoa farmers with the Kapa Cocoa Cooperative Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Union Limited, who have been introduced to the Sankofa project, and she highlights the benefits.
It's in Mira Mubashas and the Hussein to make me before I can't make you man. Tiamaminia, one day, it's Emma, me and so avoame. I saw my me, Enya, and no buy no musica. They be at the support, Memma, Abraham, and you can amend them and wash it, Pugumum. Nti ama me to no en ha se bia me ne be mante esa adwuma pa me hia yenti en mo bebre efri mu e ma me maso ekọ omanim.
Under the Sankofa project, KKFU farmers are introduced to income diversification, dynamic agroforestry, climate-smart cropping systems, and carbon insetting through a partnership and commercial-driven approach which enrich the soil, diversify crops, contributes to food security, and halt and reverse deforestation in the area.
The benefit is that the farmers can cultivate on one piece of land for a very long time, not like the usual convention method whereby he or she has to get a place for cassava, plantain, and for other crops. But this one, within that same plot of land, the farmer can do so many things.
International Trade Center, in partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, is also implementing a program dubbed the Netherlands Trust Fund 5 project from July 2021 to June 2025. The aim of the program is to contribute to building back better in the targeted countries with a focus on micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in the digital technologies and agribusiness sectors, linking up both the synergies and business opportunities.
The Netherlands Trust Fund 5 project is a project that is being implemented by ITC with funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Netherlands. And in that project, we are trying to digitalize the agribusiness, their business operations. We are working with KKFU, that's Kwiapa Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Union, and 20 SMEs who are also processing chocolates.
The program supports micro, small and medium-sized enterprises and farmer cooperatives in the digital technologies and agribusiness sectors to contribute to an inclusive and sustainable transformation of food systems, partially through digital solutions, and drive the internationalization of tech startups and exports of IT and BPO companies in selected sub-Saharan African countries.
We have tech startups, a lot of them in the agri-tech space, and we also have IT companies. And we're working with our agri team to come see their beneficiaries. So they have the cocoa value chain as who they work with. And a lot of our startups and tech companies are very eager to see how they can provide solutions to them. So we know some of the problems that people have: access to market, access to funding, machinery.
Most farmers under this project have been able to increase their incomes and also improve productivity at their cocoa farms.
After hitting almost $130 a barrel in March this year, crude oil prices on the world market are beginning to drop significantly, currently selling at about $88 per barrel. What could be accounting for this development, especially as the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, had recently announced some supply cuts of the product? The world was alarmed when oil prices reached a record high of about $130 3 months into the year. This was after it stood at about $73 to a barrel in January. In June, prices dropped to about $127 a barrel and began to dip further, selling for under $100 in August. As of today, the price is currently at under $90, even though announcements of a supply cut by OPEC usually lead to price hikes. What could be the cause of this development? Energy consultant Dr. Yusuf Sulemana explains.
Number one is China consumption. China, of course, is a major force to reckon with when it comes to hydrocarbon consumption. China follows US as the second consumer of petroleum products, but the difference between China and US is the fact that China has much more impact on global oil demand or hydrocarbon demand, or global energy demand as compared to US, for the fact that US produces and consumes at the same time. Though they are the number one producer, they are equal the number one consumer in terms of quantum. However, China consume also that much, but they don't produce. So China consumes about 15% of global oil requirement. So to the extent that China still experiencing some exercising some abundant caution with respect to the recent, pockets of COVID breakouts in China. So that is actually putting impact on Chinese demand. And so once Chinese demand is impacted, however little it is, the cascading impact on the market is going to come as quick as possible.
Beyond the China conversation, what more could be the cause of this drop in oil prices?
This policy rate hikes that is ongoing globally. You notice that the policy rate hikes, what it targets to do is probably to increase borrowing costs. Interest rate, and if interest rates are up, there's a tendency that overall or ultimately will dip oil demand. The demand for energy will go down, and that's actually the target, because they want to stem or pick this inflationary pressure, and to pick the inflationary pressure, they have to put brake on demand, and so that's how come they do a lot of this quantitative tightening here and here. So, and if quantitative tightening begin to take a center hold, or if the fruits of that begin to be realized, then this is what we're going to see. We're going to definitely see demand coming down. The other possible reason could be that maybe oil demand is peaking, but that is a weaker portion because oil is still demanded, as you can see. So the third portion is not a likely possibility. But among these three things, possibility of oil peaking, the hikes in interest rate, and then China consumption dwindling, I think Chinese consumption holds the much potency with respect to what is impacting the market at this moment.
Even though oil prices have dropped significantly over the period, prices at the pumps locally have stayed high. This is mainly due to the depreciation of the Citi against the dollar, which erodes the impact of the price falls. At the current global oil price and with a stable currency, fuel should sell for under 10 Ghana cedis a litre in the country. Now to the Citi Business Olympics. I hope your colleagues at work are already training and preparing to take part in this year's edition of the competition. Trust me, you'd love the venue for this year's event, and I must say it feels great to be able to gather together after the long break due to COVID-19. But for those who don't know what the Citi Business Olympics is about, here are clips from the last event and details of this year's edition.
The day we've all been waiting for. After weeks and weeks of planning, preparation, of the countdown, it is finally here, the Citi Business Olympics. Okay, so we started off the day with aerobics. Our instructor was there to take everyone through their paces. So stretch, move, come on, you can do it. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay guys, so right behind me is the CEO challenge happening right now. The CEOs are battling out to see who's the ultimate one. What they have to do, throw the ball into the net within 60 seconds, as many as they possibly can. Those that do enough on target are the winners. Pretty simple, huh? Well, not really. We're going to see that happen right about now. See how many was done. Here last year, the number was 36. 36, guys. So that is what to beat. Alrighty, I'm here. We're still ongoing with the CBO. It's going to be really exciting.
The biggest annual corporate sports gathering is here. The Citi Business Olympics 2022 is back, bigger and better than ever. On the 24th of September 2022, corporate Ghana will gather at the Eden Heights Sports Complex from 8 a.m. to find out which company will excel and dominate in various sporting disciplines at the Citi Business Olympics 2022. It will be a day of team building, business networking, sharing ideas, learning, and excitement as 60 corporate organizations battle it out in various sporting disciplines such as 7-a-side football, swimming, lawn tennis, volleyball, basketball, and table tennis. There will also be fun games like sack race, arm wrestling, lime and spoon race, Owari and Ludu, and the quest to find out the ultimate CEO with the CEO Challenge. To register your company to participate, call 055-897-3973 now. Which company will hold their own and emerge as champions at the Citi Business Olympics 2022? We'll find out on the 24th of September 2022, time 8 a.m. Venue, Eden Heights Sports Complex. Wager. The Citi Business Olympics 2022 is powered by Citi FM and Citi TV and is sponsored by Mentos.
So there you have it. That's all you need to know about this year's edition of the Citi Business Olympics. GCB are the reigning champions. Let's see if this year they will be able to maintain their title, or is your company gearing up to replace them? Let's see how all that goes. That'll be all for today's edition of the Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV, your most watched business show in the country. For more business stories, please visit our website, citibusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Let's connect on Twitter @mobodu. Catch you same time next week. Stay safe, stay informed. Bye-bye.